Hey folks, we're here at the Hoboken Historical Museum live, and we're streaming out on either Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Or I meant to say we're streaming on all those things, and we're so glad you tuned in tonight. This is the show Hoboken Talks. It's every Thursday at 7 p.m. And basically, we invite people who we think are interesting. We always say that, Hoboken has a lot of positives and sometimes negatives, but one of the positives are the people, and we are picking the la creme. My name's Bob Foster, and tonight our guest is Dave Carney, who wears many hats around Hoboken, and I've known Dave for a number of years. I should mention that feel free to join the chat, ask us questions, give affirmation, say hi to Dave.
Lob softballs.
Yes, lob. And Dave Carney, welcome to Hoboken Talks.
Thanks for having me, Bob.
Okay, we're so glad you're here.
I don't feel worthy, but here I am.
Stop.
I was just thinking, Bob, about having to fill the shoes of your past two people, Greg Delaquilla and Rob Dreshoff.
Oh, yeah, Bob Dreshoff. Yeah, they were great shows, but I think we have a great show here tonight, too.
I hope so.
We got some interesting photos, and we're so glad you're here. So I think most people associate you with the Madison Restaurant, which is on 14th Street. In the background, our backdrop here is a picture of the Madison that goes back some time. You never saw the Madison with all these banners on it.
I've seen pictures,
right.
But I can't remember the holiday. Somebody told me the holiday that it was for, and I don't remember it.
So you already have a sign in from Marge Fasciano. I know, Dave. Get in line, Marge. No, sorry. No, that's great. That's great. You signed in. And I'm going to move my head a little bit. What do? I'm going to go over here. Look at this stop. Oh, I have to move my whole body.
We could go out this way, right?
No, it's me. It's me.
To see the whole...
Yeah, I want to just show that. I can't do it. I'm stuck in this chair. Yeah. But there's actually a stoplight in the middle of 14th Street.
Right.
And I think the sign on it says, please stop on the green light. So we know this is like an early stoplight.
Wow.
People didn't realize that was the protocol. And
please stop at the red light.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Something like that.
I thought it was a joke.
That's right. Joke's on me.
Please stop at the green light.
I just got a ticket the other day for running a red light.
Really?
I'm colorblind. No, I'm not. But tell us, how did you get into all this restaurant stuff?
Well, it started early, I believe in 1986, a year after I graduated high school.
That's amazing.
A good friend of mine who I went to high school with, George Palermo, his father owned the bar on 6th and Washington. And at that time, it was called the Carlton Inn. And he asked me to bartend there. And I started bartending, and I would do all the slow shifts, a Monday night, a Saturday afternoon. And George's father really taught me all the ins and outs and all the things that I know today. And I still teach my people about bartending and about running a bar that there's respect in, and he never let guys curse that was sitting at the bar, and if they did, he would ask them to leave, and he really ran a tight ship, and it stood with me. And George's father just passed away 2 months ago, and we had a big party at the Madison for him, and to celebrate his life. He really an amazing guy, but he really taught me how to get it. That's how I got into this business, and I bartended probably for a year. And then a year later, my brother-in-law, who became a doctor, called me and said, hey, there's a building for sale in Jersey City. Do you want to buy it? It has a liquor license. And that was 1987. And I said, sure, I know what I'm doing. I bartended, right? So we bought the building, and I ran it pretty successfully for 2 years, but I really didn't know what I was doing, and it was a failure. And we lost the building. Black Monday also, 1989.
Right.
I think we paid $350,000 for the building, and then it was worth $150,000.
Wow.
So there was a lesson learned. Yeah.
And now it's worth $2 million, right?
Well, it's on West Side Avenue, but who knows?
Sure, definitely. And so, how long did you work at that inn?
Which inn?
The one in
The Carlton
Hoboken.
Inn.
Yeah.
Probably for 1 year.
Right.
And so much happened within that 1 year. You know, we started doing DJ parties, and George's mother opened up a kitchen in the back, and so I helped cook a little and watched her to learn stuff. And I would DJ some nights, and another friend who's dead, Stanley Taglieri, would DJ, and we just have big parties there. George my best friend was at college while we were doing all this, and he got homesick, and he came home, I believe, 6 months later, and then we just started. You know, one thing led to another. I opened up a chicken wing place underneath there.
I remember.
Do you remember that?
Yes, yes.
I believe that was 1986 or 7. No, it was a little later than that. Maybe 89, something like that. It might have been 89. After my stint in the wing in Jersey City, I quote 2 years of jail, running a bar in Jersey City.
Yes.
Just being a Hoboken guy, it was an inside joke.
Dirty city.
Dirty
right?
city.
Yes,
right, yes. And it's so funny. Because after that 2-year stint, and then I came back to Hoboken, I had swore off Jersey City and said I would never go back there. And it's funny because probably 5 or 6 of my managers at the Madison have left me and are all hugely successful in Jersey City now. And I'm so happy for them.
Okay.
But I just had that in my mind, and I wouldn't do it.
Sure. Interesting. So you're graduating high school 85?
1985.
And so in terms of what's going on in Hoboken at that time, what do you remember?
At that moment, you know what I remember? I could go back to like 78.
Sure.
I think I was 12 years old, and I was working at a liquor store on 8th and Garden.
12 years old. So not just delivery.
I could barely see over the counter. Do you remember Joe Feinstein?
I know
he
the
had
name,
the liquor store on 7th and Park. 7th and Park, right around the corner from where you lived.
It's still there.
Still there.
Yeah,
right.
I was just going to say.
His son Phil runs it now.
Oh, right.
And Joe had the liquor store on 8th and Garden, late 70s, and he had a kosher butcher shop in Jersey City, and he would work there from 6 to 2. And then he would come to the liquor store and work from 3 to 10 every day. That's what he did. And Joe was another guy who kind of took me under his wing and taught me business at 12 years old. That's literally, where I got my start. And I don't know where I was going with the story, but
what was going on in the 70s?
What was going on in the 70s? Okay, so I remember working at this liquor store, and there's an old, not an old name that you'll know well, that came into the store, and I, for some reason, remember this vividly today. A guy came in and asked Joe for a bottle of this really expensive French wine. At that time, it was like $50 a bottle.
Yeah, it'd be like
something Rothschild, right? Blah blah blah. And Joe said, "We don't have that stuff," but he sold the guy. It's a true story. $1.99 bottle of wine. And you can confirm this with the man, Ray Guzman. Do you remember, Ray Guzman, right? Yeah. Well, I remember seeing Ray walk past the liquor store all the time. I would hang out in the fence inside. And I remember looking at him and going, he doesn't look like anybody from Hoboken, because he had just moved here from the Bronx.
Right.
And he was dressed like an artist. He had paint on him.
A beret.
Yeah, he had paint on him. He just didn't look. Oh, and I remember, I not became friends with him, but I remember his name from them. We would talk. And I told him that story years later, and he totally remembered it.
That's amazing.
So it's he's one of the first faces that I remember as a 12-year-old, and seeing the change in Hoboken.
Right.
And I said to myself, this is a good thing.
Uh-huh.
I kind of embraced it.
Right.
And noticed that I started to have friends that were on my block that were different than my other friends, because they moved here from someplace else. They just had different sensibilities, I should say.
Right. I mean, I hear that a lot. I mean, Bob Dreshoff said the same thing, that the newcomers were adding a positive element.
Yes, for some.
Yeah.
Some didn't like.
That's right.
Some still don't like.
Sure.
Some still say those yuppies.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't hear the term yuppies.
You don't hear it anymore, right? No. But for a long time you did, right?
Definitely.
And you were probably considered one of them, right?
Right.
What year did you move here?
Well, that's another program. Okay. But I moved here 81. No, well, you were still a freshman in high school. Okay, right.
Probably. Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm trying to think of, how did you take in like what was going on in the city with gentrification? like here's this new guy walking down the street, but a lot of blocks were sort of boarded up, and there were things like that going on. Washington Street looked pretty bleak in the early 80s. Uptown was pretty quiet, shall we say. Do you remember any of that? Or
I do remember it. And you know what I say to people when they, everybody says to me, oh, you grew up in Hoboken. Wasn't it terrible in the 70s? Wasn't it run down and beat up? But as a kid, if you have a good family life, you don't see bad around you. You don't see those boarded up buildings. You just don't, they don't really, but as an outsider, you do. And when I realized this a few years ago, I was driving to the airport from the suburbs of New Jersey, and we went right through the center of Patterson because some reason maps would take us there on the phones, right? And my daughter looked to some of the buildings in the middle of Patterson and said, Dad, why are these buildings so dirty? And I'd never noticed that. But I looked and I went, they're not dirty, they're just old. Right. The old brick buildings. And so I guess that's what Hoboken was in the 70s. But I didn't see it. Right. Because I thought everything was, rainbows, lollipops, and unicorns. And
not exactly the same thing, but like a young kid growing up might say, hey, I didn't know we were poor, because I had everything I needed and you weren't really comparing that kind of thing.
But everybody in Hoboken in those days was relatively the same. There wasn't a big socioeconomic gap as there is today. Right. Today you have some really rich people here.
Yep. Tale of two cities.
It's amazing that it's here, right? You wouldn't think.
Well, it's a small town, so to see that is kind of intense. So we're going to go to some of the pictures that you sent us, and I think we got some early ones. And
there I am with
lots of cuteness. Yes, who's this?
There I am with my sister Diane behind me, and I remember that floor. That was at 167 8th Street, which is upstairs from the liquor store that I was just speaking about. So I lived on the 3rd floor.
This again is Park Avenue, did you say?
Garden. The corner of Garden and 8th, yeah.
Right.
I remember that floor. I think it was linoleum.
Right, you could play tiles. Checkers or chess.
We had an eat-in kitchen, as you can see the chairs there.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's my sister Diane, who's 2 years older than me.
2 years older.
2 years older than me, yeah.
And we got a few more from those kitchen floor.
I remember that table. I remember that so vividly.
Formica with the stainless steel edging.
It was so
pulled out for the middle section.
Yeah. I want to say was that 50s or right?
Definitely. 50s it might have extended.
Into the 60s. But
that was once you got away from the oak table, this was the head table, easy to clean. And,
it was probably bought secondhand too.
Cool. Yeah, and that's a birthday cake.
I would imagine. I dug into that cake.
Carlos or Giorgio's,
probably Giorgio's,
or Shoning's.
Shoning's. You're right. It could have been Shoning's.
Yeah, definitely.
I think there were a few more bakeries in town at that time.
Yeah, apparently.
That's, amazing.
Sure.
That's the same apartment.
Right.
Me a few years later, I want to say I'm 7 or 8 there.
Okay.
And we're still in that kitchen because that window behind it, I know there's a fire escape outside of. And when we were old enough, we would go out on that fire escape to get a tan.
Right.
We would lay out there, or sometimes we would crawl up on the roof, and that was called Tar Beach.
Tar Beach. And that's like for the whole block.
Amazing.
You really could.
I saw from this apartment, I don't know what year, Ronald Reagan came to Hoboken.
We get to him later, actually.
Oh, we do?
Yes,
okay.
I think we have a shot. Yeah.
Okay,
but we'll save that.
Okay.
So you could see towards St. Anne's.
Yes.
Right?
And, I also remember from this apartment, remember the Level Off fire?
Sure, yeah.
I remember opening no, it wasn't the Level Off. I remember seeing that from there, but I remember opening this back window, that one right there. There was a big fire at that church on Washington Street.
Mount Olive.
And I could feel the heat as I opened the window. Wow, sure. That's how intense that fire was.
Okay, Marge is back.
We had nothing, but we never knew it. We were rich in family and friends. You're so right, Marge.
Well said.
100%.
Well said. Thanks. And Mount Olive was an earlier fire, and that would have been the 70s.
Yes.
And basically, the building was gutted, big fight to save it from being razed totally.
Yes.
And it's still there, luckily. Yeah.
So amazing. And I remember things from this apartment. Do you remember Peepin' Toms?
Do you have someone in mind?
No,
or-
I would remember looking out the front window sometimes, and we would see guys climbing fire escapes on Park Avenue
Right.
to peek in windows. Like,
Okay. They weren't breaking in?
No, it was
okay.
so crazy.
They
It
had
was
a
so
big raincoat. Yeah.
These are the things I remember as a child from that house, and it's probably why so crazy today.
Well, we have better laws in place
Yes,
to deal with that. So
it's insane.
call 911 if you
It's
run
insane.
into that issue.
My
Scary.
wife, LOL.
Oh, right, Kristen. And Kristen did the interior design for the Madison, didn't she?
Kristen
Remember that place looked great.
Christian.
Sorry,
Yeah, that's okay.
Kristen.
Christian went to school for interior design, and the only thing she really designs is our houses and restaurants, and she doesn't do that for a living, but she loves it.
But I remember, when the
And she's
Madison
amazing.
first opened, like you really transformed it.
We did.
And you'd hear the stories about, we'll show some pictures later, but, it was kind of a flop house.
Table.
Yeah, definitely. And
Yeah.
then from that to, a 7-course dinner. Whatever.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. And Paulette is on.
Oh, that's my cousin. Hello. Hi, Paulette.
Hey,
how are you?
right.
She's up in New Hampshire, I think.
Wow. Getting
Somewhere up
around.
there.
Getting around.
Yeah.
Friends of Dave.
Yeah.
Friends of Dave. And we're going to another shot here. And
Oh, wow.
you're going to have to identify
I'm
yourself.
right in the middle there. See me with the T-shirt on, the little chest sticking out there?
That little guy with the hippie haircut?
That's me.
Wow.
This is my Boy Scout. Look at the diversity in that crowd, right?
Yeah.
I cherish those days. Growing up in Hoboken, as things are today in the world, with the woke generation. Look, that's what I grew up with, and there was no room for hate of any other race.
Right.
We lived together. We did the camp together. We slept in sleeping bags next to each other. We ate together. It was nothing but love there. That was Troop 11, and we used to meet every Tuesday night at Martha's Institute. The original,
the wood structure.
The wood structure was amazing.
A little funky back
totally
then.
Funky.
Yeah.
But we would keep all of our gear all the way up on the top floor in the attic.
Wow.
And we would take such good care of our tents and everything that we had. Our troop leaders were ex-Marines and Navy guys and Army guys, Mr. Keller, the Koshik brothers, Jim Halloran. They were all ex, I don't know if they were Vietnam guys or whatever they were, but they were really rigid with us. Like, it was really almost like being in the military.
Sure.
We would go up to Oakland on a Friday night to camp. This is where we are there.
Mm-hmm.
And they would make us probably hike a mile into our camp with full backpacks, and they would drive in. And it was in the night, dark. No, they would never let you use a flashlight.
No cell phones.
No such thing as a cell phone. And we would have to go in and set up our tents. And then once we set up our tent, we could go in, eat something, and sleep and wake up at 6 a.m, go collect wood, start a fire, go get water, and then cook breakfast. And we did a lot of good things up there. We planted trees. We did a lot of, all the stuff you need to do for merit badges and all that stuff.
So you really bonded, though.
Total bonding.
Yeah.
Total bonding. And
Right.
it really was an amazing time.
And this is Boy Scouts?
Boy Scouts.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm still friends with a lot of those guys.
Oh,
that guy up on the left with the beret became a cop in Hoboken, Joey.
Uh-huh.
He's retired now. My cousin is right next to me on my right. Yuri is on the other guy with the beret on. I think they became Marines or something.
Right.
It was fun.
It was great. I haven't heard that much about early Boy Scouts in Hoboken. Girl Scouts were a real force.
Yeah. There were probably 4 or 5 different troops in Hoboken.
Right, of course, which I think there are now, too.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of come back.
Oh, it has.
And Girl Scouts went down, but now it's really back.
Since they knocked the Girl Scout house down,
yes,
right?
Yes, that was kind of sad.
It was sad,
the Girl
right?
Scouts now, the troop leaders don't even know about the Girl Scout house.
It, right? Yeah. That was behind the Hope Center, right?
That's right.
Which
was originally like the Stevens Cultural Center, another building. So, but that we should do something on.
Yeah, that would be interesting, right?
Yeah, sure. And maybe another shot here we have. Okay,
that
same
looks like
crew.
another same crew, maybe a few different faces, but I'm on the right there on the bottom right corner.
Okay, got it.
That's me right there, yes.
Right. Right.
And I guess that's just another camping trip that I think my cousin had these pictures taken because they were his.
Mm-hmm.
He's right in the middle.
Okay.
And still friends with a lot of those guys, you know?
That's great.
Yeah.
Do they come into the restaurant
Yeah,
once in
when
a
they
while?
come into, a lot of them don't live here, so they'll come in
Sure.
and we'll go out to lunch or
Right.
dinner or something
Mm-hmm.
and bond again and laugh.
Right.
And it's like you never left. You pick up right where you
Wow,
started
that's so
from, you know?
cool. That is
Most
so
of my
cool.
friends are that way.
Uh-huh. And
Oh, is that his graduation?
we just got these. Who gave us these
That's
pictures?
not high school. That's 8th grade, right?
That's 8th. You're
yeah,
going to know.
that's 8th grade.
Right. And who had these pictures? Your mom
My
had
mom.
them? Right. So
Rosie,
she's the
Rosie,
keeper.
yes.
So tell me about Rosie.
Rosie.
And whenever your mom is mentioned, people just kind of
Smile.
stop for a second and smile and just go,
She's become
amazing.
She's become kind of legend in Hoboken.
I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Rosie's just a happy person, you know. I can only hope to have half the energy that she has.
Right.
She's going to be 88 this year.
Okay, cool.
You know, she's going to be 88. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm telling everybody how old you are.
Yeah.
If you're out there.
Sure.
My Aunt
Take
Marie.
a year
Aunt
off,
Marie might
maybe.
be watching. If you're watching, Aunt Marie,
Right.
tell her I apologize.
I first met your mom when she worked down at Newman Leather at this kind of like supply house that was
Light bulbs and janitorial.
Yes, brushes and things like that. And I would go in, like, I think the first time I went, there were like, you know, very short ladies running around filling orders. And I just said, what is this place?
I remember the smell. I remember walking in there and smelling like detergents.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's pretty wild.
And then I'd often see your mom on the corner waiting for the bus, like Clinton and 6 maybe.
Yes.
And I go, are you going up to the Madison? Because she helps you out with bookkeeping.
Yes.
And she'd go, yeah, sure. So she'd hop in the car and I'd drive her around.
That's awesome.
You know, it's fun.
See, you know, my mom, I'm surprised that I don't utilize I know Rosie, that I don't use
like, you know, Rosie.
mass
Right.
transportation more, because my mother would take us everywhere on buses and trains.
Right.
And, you know, not really cabs, but we would always go shopping up to General Square on the number 5 bus.
You're not going to give
6.
up that truck.
No, I love my truck. I love my pickup truck. It's only got 145,000 miles
Oh,
on it.
really? Is it red?
No, white now.
Okay.
I used to have a red one now. When I lived in Willow Terrace,
Okay.
I had a little...
Because I just see you like parked talking to someone on your cell phone.
Yes.
The car's not moving.
No.
And I'm waving to you.
Yes,
You know.
but I used to have a red one. You're right.
Right.
It went
Okay.
from red to black to white now.
Okay.
That's funny.
And so your mom is probably connected with, I know she'll never come on the program. So
Probably not. My mom
but we've asked. And
connected with
St. Anne's?
She did for a long time.
Right.
She used to work the feast.
Right.
And she was part of the guild.
Right.
So yeah, that became a big part of her life for a while. And about 6 years ago, she had open heart surgery.
Oh, I didn't know
So
that.
she just kind of
sure.
slowed down. And
Yeah.
you know, the heat was a little too much. It's in July every year.
Tell me about it.
So it's only been the past few years that she hasn't done it, but
Right.
I don't blame her. You
Sure.
know? It gets hot out there.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And they're standing on their tent, but it's
the
hot.
Zeppeli, the hot oil, you know.
That's my cousin, cousin Teresa.
Yes, excellent, great.
Speaking
hair
of Rosie,
on
do you
Teresa.
know Rosie comes from one of 11 children?
I did not know that.
So all these people you see in here, my family, I have, I think, 350 cousins.
Scary. Do you have to buy them all presents and stuff?
No, they're all over the place.
Okay, that's good.
But I have a cousin who will probably comment from Alabama
Right.
today. And, you know, it's really funny because we would spar with each other over politics because she was very conservative and I'm kind of liberal, but not really liberal.
Right.
But we would spar all the time, but always would end with "I love you, cuz."
Okay, that's good.
Yeah,
we can agree to disagree.
Yeah, absolutely.
No,
that's how I am with everybody.
Sure, definitely. I think I maybe met your mother's sister,
Marie, and my Aunt Marie. Probably
Yes.
They live in Church Towers.
Right, and they were always like really connected.
Always together.
Yeah,
she lives in Church Towers, and they live one floor apart, so they talk a lot, you know.
Sure.
But they have that sibling rivalry, you know, like any brother and sister and sister and sister. I guess they get on each other's nerves. But, It is what it is,
but
right?
they've been, they're still
100%, I get it.
connected. That's great. That's great.
Here we go. Rosie and my Aunt Debbie were great friends. Your sister and I graduated. Hi, Veronica. How are you?
So you know Veronica.
Of course.
Of course. I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
This is great to see everybody.
And just
again.
so those 346 other relatives, they can sign on to YouTube, the museum's channel.
That's where this will be.
That's where this will be archived in about an hour, I would say.
Oh, that's cool.
So you can, they can spread the word after the fact.
Yeah, I will. I'll put it on my thing.
Hoboken Talks, Dave Carney, you'll come up.
That's so nice.
Yeah, that's very cool.
The internet is forever. We forget that, right?
Yes.
And a lot of people put stuff on the internet and they go, I want to forget about that. But you can't forget about it.
That's what we hear. Yeah.
Even if you think you deleted it, somebody screenshotted it. Somebody re-recorded it.
Sure. Yeah, all those tweets from previous administrations. So
they're out there.
Yes, somewhere. But we're here in the upper gallery at the Hoboken Historical Museum.
Couldn't ask for a better place to.
Yeah, we're happy.
If you guys out there listening haven't been to the Hoboken Historical Museum, you really have to get here and make a donation because this guy works his tail off, to curate. And there are other people behind him who get no notoriety, right?
Yes. And that's a good segue. I want to thank Rand Hoppe for producing this, coming up with the idea.
Thank you, Rand.
Rand and I still argue whose idea was it, but we're happy we're doing it. And again, it's every Thursday. If people have ideas for who to interview, and we actually change our hosts too. So
it's not if I would host the story, that would be great.
Definitely.
Yeah, I would love to do
if that would get your mom here.
Maybe I'll talk to her about it. That would be interesting.
Good.
Yeah, I would love that. That would be really cool.
We also do a chapbook program, which is in print and a little more inclusive. And let's say Anthony has been signing on.
Dr. Petrosino.
Yes, Rosie and my mother were best friends.
That's awesome, right?
Yeah.
That's how we have a connection, Anthony. Right. It's like we didn't know each other till maybe a few years back, probably knew of each other, but we just had this instant connection with each other. And it's probably because of our mothers were connected. Right. Yeah, I believe in that stuff. It's something in the universe.
Sure. We always say no degrees of separation.
I love you, my sister Diane.
Okay, great job. Okay, cool. And tell me more about the Madison. I mean, it's such a landmark. It's on the corner of 14th and Washington. We send a lot of people there who are visiting the museum. They say where to eat. And we kind of say, do you want... are you into Spanish or are you into sushi or are you into American cuisine?
And they tell us when they come, Bob sent us. Yeah, it's really nice. Thank you.
And, but it has an interesting history too. And I guess, what can you tell us about the Vizzetti family? Mayor Tom Vizzetti was
the wackiest mayor in America.
Exactly. Right? He was featured on the cover of Daily News probably about the year you graduated high school.
Was it 85?
No, it would have been a couple of years later.
Later?
Yeah.
Was it later?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Because 86 is, I'm going to get. It off my years.
I don't remember those years that great.
Because you were working so late at the bar.
Yeah.
Anyway, but we have some interior shots of the Madison. Oh, and that's a much better shot. Actually, thank you.
There you go.
So we have the projection, but this is a better shot. So there's the traffic light, it said. So it says move on green only. Thank you. And it says annual ball, Frank Vizzetti. Do you know much about Frank Vizzetti, Tom Vizzetti's father?
I don't know much about Frank.
Okay.
I don't know really much. I thought that was. I never really read Frank. I thought it was the Tom Vizzetti.
Right. No, this is too early.
That's interesting.
For Tom.
Yeah.
And we see there's a cigar store. Here's a shot from the 50s. And what's that? A 53 Ford? 54 Ford?
Yes. You just gave me an idea for one of the holidays in 2022. I'm going to try to replicate that.
Really?
Yeah, with those
You're
flags.
You're going to put a stoplight in the street?
No, the flags on the building and all that. But that there, I'm going to try. Wow. I don't know if the city would let me do it. Obviously, I would have to speak to the powers that be, maybe zoning or something. If I could decorate, maybe for the 4th.
It is temporary.
Yes, maybe for the 4th of July or something, or Flag Day or something.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
Yeah. The big thing is always fire codes. Like if they were going to put a ladder up there, would it impede?
And I think somebody told me the company that did this was that little place on 5th and Washington.
421 Washington,
Right.
United Decorating.
United Decorating.
Yeah,
They
We
did that, right?
Apparently, this picture is from the collection of Lenny Lutzy, and I'm going to guess that it originally was taken for United Decorating.
Oh, okay.
They were kind of the official decorator for the city, and when there were big celebrations, they would get the job, anniversaries, things like that, and then they would always document it.
I can remember as a little kid going there and buying bags of stamps.
Right.
Because we would collect stamps, and
Sure.
they would have a bunch of these stamps in these little wax paper bags.
You have a good memory
yeah,
for
I really
details.
do.
It's funny.
And we would go there and, for $1, $2, whatever it was.
That was run by George and Dolores.
Yeah, they were amazing people.
They were third generation in that store.
I remember them always. He was always sitting in the corner in the back. He had a chair in the back, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And then if it was really nice, they'd bring out their lawn chairs on the avenue.
On the avenue, right? On the avenue.
And I should say that our next exhibit in the museum will be opening in August 1st, and the title is On the Avenue,
really?
History of Washington Street. So we will be featuring.
That's amazing.
The Madison and other
was
businesses.
Guys Myers still here when you came to town?
Yes, it was.
And you could still run around. Remember the window they had in the middle?
Yes, I do.
Because I remember as a kid, you couldn't pass that store without running around that thing.
Right.
It was just a display case.
Right. And that was funky place.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd go in and there'd be like a section for like railroad workers, like their uniform.
See, I don't remember
and you'd
that.
pick it up and it was like wool and, weighed a ton.
That's
but
amazing.
No one was buying this stuff.
Right.
Someone would come over and like, are you here to buy? It was like a little intimidating.
You know what's amazing to me? That Hoboken is always thought of as Irish, Italian, German, right?
Right.
But all the shops on Washington Street were owned by Jewish people.
That is, not all of them, but there was a heavy
majority
Jewish who might have also been German too. So that
could have been, but I don't think a lot of them lived here either.
Right.
I think they had lived somewhere else and had shops here.
Sure.
Wieners, Guys Myers.
Right.
There's so many.
Sure.
Sorkins.
No, there's a real Jewish heritage in Hoboken. You had at least 3 synagogues for a small town, and they've all consolidated and they're one. There's kind of a move to the suburbs, after World War II. Right. And so I'm going to say a lot of them might have still had the family business here, but moved to, Ridgewood, Montclair, like now. And so.
And the guy that I worked for, Joe Feinstein, originally as a 12-year-old kid.
Right.
Joe wasn't really practicing, wasn't really religious.
Right.
But he had a kosher chicken store in Jersey City.
Okay.
Which is amazing,
Yeah, definitely. So that's a great shot of there. This is in the 50s. So what do we have? Jules Bar and Grill and Pizzeria.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
No.
I'm sure people out there
do.
Old.
You weren't born yet.
Right, but I'm just, and I don't remember anybody talking about that place.
Right.
So I remember it as Kelly's.
Right.
Because when I took over, Kelly's was still there.
Right.
I started working in 1999, and Kelly's was still there.
Until what, 5 years ago?
5 years
maybe?
later. Yeah, no, more than that.
More
maybe.
than that? Right. Kelly's was the last of the, I'll say, hardcore bars.
Absolutely. That became, shout out for Bin 14.
Okay, your neighbor.
Yes,
cool.
Yes.
And you could buy the little beers there for like 25 cents. And you could hear the shot glass hitting the bar. And
just brought me back to when I first started bartending. And I would have customers come in and say, let me have a short beer. And it was in one of those pear-shaped glasses with a stem on it.
Sure.
And they would always like a big head on it. So you'd give them that much head. And it was real for 30 cents.
30 cents.
30 cents. Wow. And that was in 1986.
Right. Which is pretty late.
Pretty amazing.
It's sort of like the $4.95.
So Saturday morning, you'd have a guy come in and spend $3, walk out drunk, and leave a $2 tip. So for $5, he sat there from 11 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon. Right.
Right.
Simply amazing.
It kind of reminds me of the guys in the clam broth house not ordering any alcohol, just taking the broth and little Tabasco sauce with crackers and making that their meal.
A lunch. I remember going in there as a kid, and you could go to the back, and they had like coffee urns with the clam broth.
Exactly.
Right, that you could pour out and just take a sip of.
Yeah. But there'd be this guy just keeping warm around the urn and,
and stuff all over the floor, shells, clam shells, everything.
Away.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
Yep.
The good old days.
You bet.
Oh, look at this crew.
Yeah.
If anybody out there knows names, chime in. I know that's Tom Vizzetti sitting in front there.
So these are some photographs from Ben Fernandez, which were taken from a book. So the clarity is not great, but it's what we got.
I have about 10 of these books at home.
Yeah, right. The 70s book, which has essays by 3 photographers, Ben being one of them. And of course, that post is still there. We might even have a contemporary shot later.
The post is still there,
yeah,
yes.
The post is still there. The Rangold neon sign is not still there. But that was that was Tom's crew.
Yeah.
And do you remember any stories?
You always hear random stories of Mr. Vizzetti getting so drunk, falling asleep on a pool table. And a lot of the old timers would come in and say, the ghost of Tom Vizzetti is here. and I would say, that's welcome, because Tom, as crazy as he was an amazing person. He really was a good guy. And I loved when he walked around with the bullhorn. What were some of his lines?
There'd be a guy like in a skinny T-shirt, Italian T-shirt, and he'd go, "Hey, gorgeous, you got great muscles." And
but he had one,
and it's a great morning.
Have a great day.
Yeah, he was very positive.
He was,
and he was a interesting dresser.
He was.
Generally, things did not match.
No, but he always had a suit on.
He always had a suit on. Sometimes a hat.
Yeah, the hat.
And my personal story with him is that he was one of the first people I met on that Washington Street bus, those old green buses.
I love the shape of those.
Yeah. And I met him. He just got on, and he was in his suit, and I think he had a hat on, and he saw me. He goes, "Hey, you look intelligent." That was one of his expressions.
That was.
Yeah. He handed me a paper, like a term paper, and he said, "Can you read this?" And I didn't know who he was, or, it's before his city council days. Right. Yeah. And he said that, "Please read this." And I go, "Why?" He goes, "Well, I'm in a graduate program at NYU. And if it's a good paper, I'll get an A. If it's not, I'm not going to submit it. And I can just recomp the class."
Really?
And it was just weird. That was my introduction to him.
And did you exchange names at the time?
No,
you
nothing.
didn't?
I just thought,
so it was just a random on the bus.
And that was his style. There's no wall. And I was, I'm still feeling my way around town.
Right.
Maybe I'm here a couple
Where
days.
Where did you move here from, if you don't mind me asking?
That's okay.
I know this is about me.
No,
but
definitely.
I don't want to.
I moved to Hoboken in 1981, and I moved after graduate school from Syracuse University.
Oh, wow.
So that was...
Did you live in Syracuse?
No. But let's go back to you.
Okay. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm going to interview you here someday.
That would be great, right? We can do that, yeah.
So there's the shot.
So there's a shot from Ben Fernandez, and those are the pool tables in a sense, not... in the bar room side.
Right, that's on the bar room. That's one pool table. But now you see that extra bar on the left there.
Yeah.
I'm thinking in a subsequent picture you'll see in the 70s that might have became the oyster bar.
Oh, it might have became. It's not an oyster bar there.
No, I don't think they might have turned it by the vestibule there, and it became, because I don't think there was a vestibule at this time either. Right. I think they built the vestibule and turned that and made that the oyster bar.
Interesting. Oh, and you should mention the ceiling too, which is shown
here.
Since
it was put there in 1894.
Right.
It was reverse hand painted, so it was painted on the other side. It's simply amazing. I don't know if there's two of them. There's one in Texas, Arizona, and one here. I think the only two in town. I don't know who did them. But
Texas, Arizona,
the bar. Right.
Yeah.
I believe there's one in there.
Right.
And in the 70s, when the Roberts family and the Capiello family bought the building, there was a fire up there, I think, in the 70s. So it had a lot of damage, and I think they painted this black. They painted the whole ceiling black. And the Capiello, Patty Capiello, and a bunch of other guys, Frank Palmisano, who's my best friend today, they were working in there, cleaning that ceiling and scraping the paint and to try and get it back to the original form, and they did an amazing job. Right. You can go in and look at it today. It looks amazing.
Sure. It is unusual.
Yeah, it really is unusual.
I heard a
Nobody
story.
ever looks up when they go.
No,
to the
I know. They're,
You
yeah.
know?
You should have a sign. Look
Yeah,
up.
look
Look
up.
up. Yeah. So someone had told me that there was a sister bar in New York that was like had the same layout, and
That
was
could
the
be
idea
interesting.
that you could go to the bar there and hang out till 1 a.m. and then come to Hoboken and take the ferry, the 14th Street ferry at the
Really?
time, the original ferry, and then go stay here for 2 hours.
Really, I didn't
don't know if it
that.
was true.
I don't know.
And
I never heard that story.
And I don't know if there was no painting ceiling reference, but it was something like it was even owned by the same person.
Wow, that's interesting.
I don't know, like in the 40s.
Maybe we could put that. There's one of my friends. I don't know if you're watching Joe Scalzo, who does a great job with posting old stuff.
Sure.
He could probably get the information.
Is there a sister bar, the Madison from the 1890s?
In New York City.
And so even though this bar in the 70s, I don't know, would I call it a flop house? I mean, literally
That's what
people
it was called,
were
a flop house,
sleeping.
right?
They would drink and sort of
fall
end
asleep.
up there. And
there were rooms upstairs,
and guys
right?
went upstairs, but maybe they didn't make it,
But isn't it funny? Look at the stools at that bar.
Those stools are...
But they made a big comeback.
I'm going to say they're the model industrial stool.
They are, right.
That we actually have one. I don't have it up here.
Yeah.
But they have a big seat.
They made a big comeback.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
They're strong.
Yeah.
And they're strong.
Adorable.
But when the Madison was built, it was a fancy place.
It had to be if you look at it. I mean,
Yeah.
just look at the bones,
Just the
right?
fixtures. Yeah,
amazing.
definitely. Anthony.
There you go. I knew somebody told me, Anthony, I spent the summer stripping the ceiling with the Madison with Patty Capiello. There you go. That's it.
Okay.
Sorry, Anthony. I thought it was Frank Palmisano. It was you that told me the story.
Okay, we're going to properly credit Anthony.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm thinking of other bar, like the Elysian was built as a fancy bar,
Yes.
but then it kind of went down in the 70s.
Same as this.
They covered the windows with plywood, and, Eugene and Joyce obviously brought that place back, as you.
Yes. That's what me and my wife.
Yeah.
Do you know why they used to have no windows in bars? People didn't want to be seen drinking.
Right.
You wanted to go in there and hide from your wife,
Sure.
hide from somebody.
Right.
So they would always have those windows up high
Right.
that you'd need a ladder to.
Sure.
To,
Dino's place on Bloomfield had that type of setup too, but they also had at certain point. I'm not an expert on this, but they had separate entrances for men and women.
Right.
And
so you could run out if she came in one, you could run out the other, right?
Probably. It was probably to the men's benefit, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But
what a horrible world it was.
the women could not be in the bar, but they could be in the cafe area, I think, is the way it worked. Okay, we got Eve Feeney. We had the same ceiling in School 24 on Virginia Ave in Jersey City. It was the entire ceiling of the auditorium.
Wow.
So this is in the school, not a bar.
No, I wonder if that's still there.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I mean, it was a way to be kind of classy, I think.
Yeah.
That's
a great picture.
Yeah.
Right?
This was one. This again is from Ben Fernandez, photographed very direct, and this is some of the folks, clientele.
I miss Hoboken. I miss the characters. The characters of Hoboken. You could walk around anywhere, and you would always see a character.
Can you be more specific? Different characters, like
there were different ones all over town.
Right.
And what people don't understand either, as kids, this is only a mile square. Hi, Margarita.
Hey.
Only a mile square.
Oh, Margarita.
But
yeah.
Father's legend.
Oh,
legend. A legend. Amazing guy.
I think of Tom a lot.
Yes.
Especially these days.
Amazing guy. Yeah.
Definitely.
So you had your neighborhood. And you never really ventured out of your neighborhood. It was maybe 3 blocks east, west, north, and south. And you didn't go downtown. You didn't go past Willow. You never went into the
Lloyd.
Lloyd, I love Lloyd. Yeah.
You
didn't go into the
characters.
dead presidents,
Right.
Lloyd was in the 80s, though, I think. I'm talking about the 70s where, you had guys just sitting outside bars and, they were always there. Every day of your life, you would see these same people going to school, coming home. And I remember the smell of bars, the cleaning solutions, that they would clean in the morning with because they would always have the door open.
Sure.
It was just very interesting to grow up here, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
So what I say is that, maybe there are less characters than before, but in a sense, the people who remember those characters and kind of celebrate them,
Right.
you are the character.
Yeah, I am the character. You're right. Look at that. Now do you see what I'm saying? See the oyster bar in the corner there?
Okay, right.
Because it looks like the same. See the face of the bar?
It could be. It
You know,
could very
I
well
believe
be.
that might have been the old bar
Sure,
they took.
definitely.
So this is like 1978 with the work of Patty Capiello and Anthony Petrosino cleaning that ceiling,
Looks
right?
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's simply amazing. And you know, Charlie Roberts was way ahead of his time in 1978. It was almost avant-garde because he started a Sunday champagne brunch.
Right.
And, you know, that was only going on in very few places in New York City.
Right.
And he started here in 1978.
I somehow remember I'm friends with Steve Zane. I don't know if you know Steve, photographer. I think he took this picture.
Really?
And then he worked probably with Charlie to start like a sushi club. You know, pretty long time. Like maybe
and they would
not.
They would do sushi on Monday nights or something like that. Yes,
we have to get Steve on here to talk about that. But it was like kind of invitation.
Think about that. In 1978.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
That's,
and they would order a special, you know, he knew what he was doing.
They would have a Japanese guy come in and do sushi. Yes,
so.
That's pretty amazing.
But the ceiling looks pretty good there. And Steve's a really good photographer. So
that's amazing.
I hope he's the one who took it.
You know what's so funny? I just put round tables back in. I always had square tables.
Okay.
And just this week, I got like 6 round tables.
Cool.
So I'm going to kind of set them up like that.
Excellent. You can recreate that photo.
That in the 1970s.
Yeah. And then at the time of that last photo, I don't think the back dining room was really used.
I think they had moved the pool tables to the back dining room.
Oh, right. Okay.
You know,
there wasn't enough customers.
They had games back there and pool tables.
That makes sense because you just enter that door.
I just saw one of Tom Vazzetti's great outfits that he wore, right?
Well, we were looking at some pictures to go with your talk, and we found this yesterday. And this is the Ragamuffin parade where kids would dress up, and you would think that this is Tom's like Halloween Ragamuffin outfit, but
that was a normal outfit.
This was the normal outfit, that type of hat.
I'm trying to think of what was his most famous line. Why in my mind is going.
Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
Right. That's right.
That's it. That's it.
And
always a pleasure.
When Tim Daly did the political posters, that was the slogan.
And you know what's funny about that line is it sounds so gratuitous, but it wasn't with him.
No.
You know, he truly enjoyed people, whether it was for 5 seconds or 5 minutes.
Right.
He truly did, you know.
Sure. I mean, that was an amazing. Were you around for that election?
I remember the election because I remember groups of friends. It was almost like we experienced in 2016 with Trump and Biden.
Right.
No. Did Biden run? No. Yeah, Biden.
16.
16. Who did Trump run against?
I
can't even think, right?
It's the COVID problem.
Yeah. Well, whoever he ran. But it was almost like that with Capiello and Vazzetti.
Right.
You know, that, families were turning on each other. Who was with who and who was
who.
I
would say, I agree. It was like the French Revolution or something.
Yeah.
People just took to the streets.
It was really amazing.
Hugh and Beth Kilmer are in the photo.
Remember Mr. Kilmer?
Yeah, definitely.
Kilmer.
Yeah, and there's Beth.
You know, he was one of those faces that I remember as a kid. And I was friends with his kids.
Right.
But I would see his face, and he always had a pipe, right? He used to smoke a pipe.
Sure, definitely.
And you would say, wow, that guy's not from here. Like, where did he come from?
Right.
And didn't he have a store? Didn't he run?
So.
Yeah, where the Dairy Queen was.
Oh no, that
wasn't him.
That's Steve Killison, who also had a beard.
Yes, that looked similar. But I remember seeing him because we used to have a running joke. Instead of "you Kilmer," my friends, whenever we saw him, we would say, "You kill me,"
and he would laugh.
Yeah, he would, of course. Yeah, totally.
And Hugh has passed, but Beth is, I think, living in Pennsylvania with one of her children, and she does come to Hoboken.
Terry,
from your past WT neighbors.
So good to see you, Terry. Tell Jim I said hello.
And what does WT stand for?
WT.
Willa Terrace.
Oh, Willa Terrace.
Okay,
I thought you were tricking me.
No, okay.
Do you remember that?
Of course. Yeah, very good friends with both.
Yes. Did they live across the street from me?
What was your
43,
number?
43.
So that's 1 through 32. Yeah, they probably did.
Across the street, right? Yeah.
Because I live at 63, so you were down.
Yes.
We were in the same terrace.
Yeah, same block.
Right. But that,
how are things in the terrace?
Small,
Still-
still 12 and a half feet. Right.
I miss it there.
Right.
I really do.
Right.
It's
Cobblestones
I call
are
that the
still-
little house that could.
Right.
The little
Sure.
house that could.
I call it half a house. Right.
But you know what? I got to tell you, and I want to segue into this. I don't want to get too far. But living there for 5 or 6 years, and then moving up to a bigger house and a bigger house and a bigger house, and now I'm 53. Then I was 30, so that's 23 years ago. 29. Yeah.
Where did the time
24,
go?
Yeah, I realized that you don't need much more than that. You have this space in your house that you don't really use.
How many kids do you have?
I have 4 kids.
Okay, that house is not big enough.
But listen, no, that might not be. But I grew up 5 kids in an apartment.
Yes.
In an apartment. So when people say to me, you need all that space. No, you don't need all that space. You want that space.
Right.
Probably not to be close to your kids and stuff, But it's just amazing. You don't need anything, right?
Sure.
You want it.
Yeah.
And I don't know
Willow Terrace houses, there's condos, but the Willow Terrace house would be probably the smallest house in Hoboken. At most, it can be
40. He was 2 doors down
at
from
40.
me. Yes.
Okay, cool, Terry.
Thanks, Terry.
And Terry's actually been interviewed on the program and is also going to be a host.
Oh, wow.
Sort of
awesome.
like you.
Yeah,
Sort of like
that's
you.
cool. That's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so the Willow Terrace house at most can be 1,800 square feet.
At most.
At most. That's with like a deck on the
I think
roof.
that's what I probably had
Yeah,
because I put
exactly.
the 3rd floor. We dormed it, I believe, right? Because they weren't all, they were peaked at one time.
Sure.
And then we had a little deck on the back.
Right. And so when you do a census for Willow, people who lived in Willow Terrace, like
How many people?
an Irish family in the house that I live in, the guy was a policeman, and I think there were 6 kids.
6 kids.
Yeah,
Amazing,
it's crazy,
right?
Crazy.
They probably all slept by a fireplace there weren't fireplaces, probably stoves, right?
A potbelly
Yeah,
stove.
potbelly stoves. Yeah.
When we moved
amazing.
into our house in '94, part of it was still heated with a potbelly stove.
I think mine was too. I think when I walked in, the floor was coming up, so I could see the dirt underneath in the crawl space.
Right.
It's pretty wild.
Yes, definitely. You never really think what's behind things in a house until
I bought that house from another Hoboken legend, Phil Casella,
right.
And he sold me the house for I think $96,000, and he held the mortgage.
Hey.
It was amazing because that was my start.
Right.
Into just having credit. I was really young at the time.
Yeah, sure.
And it was pretty amazing. And then a few years later, he sold it to a bank, and it was fine. Everything worked out.
Good.
Wild.
Good. So I'm just interested.
Hey, Davey, I love you, buddy.
Hey, great. So, maybe you're not working as many hours as you used to.
No.
But the Madison, it's hard to run a restaurant.
It is. And today, the hardest part of running a restaurant is employees. Just generationally, it has changed where kids don't want to do manual labor. I believe the internet and technology has changed that for kids. You can make money not doing manual labor. You can make money never changing into clothes every day.
That's right. Bitcoin.
Bitcoin. You change your shirt and or doing these podcasts, and but technology has really.
Tag Larry, family living Willow Terrace, 6 kids. Yeah.
But my thought on this, because I rack my brain trying to think of why kids. I don't have kids that come in and say, I want to do this and I want to learn and I want to someday own my own restaurant.
Right. Sure.
Because they can make money so many other ways on the internet and selling things, and it's just a different world, and I think it's going to get harder and harder and harder. My kids don't want to work in a restaurant,
right? And you probably don't want them to either.
Well, listen, if they would be happy, I would be all for it. Mm-hmm. Because I love what you do, never work a day in your life, right? So if they at night 18 or 19 said, Dad, I want to work in a restaurant, I would embrace it,
Cool. And tell me about what's been going on with restaurants the last
15 months?
Yeah, whatever it is. Seems like 10 years.
It's been a roller coaster ride. We had a great, when we reopened, we were closed from March to June of 2020, right? And then we reopened the end of June. And, July, August, September came, and everybody just wanted to get out of the house. So the city was, Mayor Robbie Balla was amazing with us. He just let us, put tables on the sidewalks and the streets, wherever you could. Your neighbors, you could put tables in front of your neighbors' buildings as long as they gave you the okay. And he was amazing that way. And we had a great summer. And then I knew we were going to have a rainy day because November, December, January, February came and it was dead. And, we gave everything back that we made in the summer, but I didn't care because we didn't lay anybody off. Everybody stayed working for those 5 months. And then since then, we'd had a really brisk business. Sorry, I'm getting into the throat. It's been really busy. This May was amazing, but I think we're going to have a slow summer again. I think people want to get out of the city.
That's what I hear, but I'm thinking that there's so many people from out of town who are saying, I want to get out of my place.
Well,
and they're coming to Hoboken.
Hoboken has become a tourist destination.
Yeah, it's a destination.
So, yeah.
The amount of people who walk in the door here from out of town is over 50%.
Thank you, Margarita.
I still talk about your bathroom cuffs.
The door. Oh. When you go to our bathroom, you don't have to grab a handle. You could actually put your arm in and open the door. So
okay. And where'd that come from?
One of my ex-managers, Mike and Devis, found them on the internet somewhere.
Okay, cool.
He was a bit of a germaphobe.
Uh-huh.
So he didn't want to touch the door.
He knew.
Yes,
he knew.
Yes. You can just put your arm in
right,
and pull
right.
it.
And
cool.
I did want to thank you for coming on. I know you've had a chest
thank you
cold.
So much. Yeah.
Not COVID, but...
And it's starting to act up right now.
We were a little
I can't believe an hour went by already.
Are we there
It's like
yet?
55 minutes, right?
Wow, sure. Okay.
Boy, time flies when you're having fun.
So, yeah, we took a few shots of your place today. What a beautiful structure.
It's amazing. Amazing that they let us do that.
Right.
We would love to keep it forever. If you're out there, mayor, zoning people, whoever you are.
I think they're attractive. I guess that people say, oh, you're taken away from parking. But you know what happens when you start seeing these around town? You kind of wonder, would they ever take cars away from Washington Street? Right. Just do deliveries and have the dining in the street, or it would be a very
European feel.
It would be great. Just bikes and scooters. Delivery trucks can come and do their thing at a certain hour. Would you think that's a good idea? You wouldn't be able to take your
truck. That's a bit progressive for me, Bob.
Okay.
That's a bit. I am not part of the bike army.
Okay.
Sure. I want my car. I want to drive.
Okay. But you could say, I'm not, but I'm just saying Washington Street.
Yeah, they're trying to take our guns. Yeah. Right? And then you know what happens, right?
You could always get around it by putting supplies in your truck and say it's a delivery.
Listen, I am all open. I am open to change. That's the only thing we can't stop in the world, right? Is change.
True.
And some of it's good, some of it's okay.
Right.
Some of it we don't agree with at first, but
But you can't stop it either.
You can't stop it. And if you haven't learned in the last 15 months what your calling in life is, because you had so much time to be introspective, right?
Sure.
I don't think you ever will. Right. And if you, as a businessman, if you haven't learned to pivot, then you're in trouble.
Sure.
So whether we keep these forever or not, we'll learn to pivot.
Right. Speaking of pivoting, is there another restaurant in the works?
Oh, I'm doing a little pizzeria on Newark Street, 152 Newark Street. It's going to be called Madison Pizza. I was thinking of another name, and everybody kept saying, why don't you just call it Madison Pizza, like expand the brand. So that's what I'm doing, Madison Pizza. And hopefully we're going to make pizza that, would be like in the rating of 9.2. That's the pizza ratings. They go from 0 to 10.
Right, I see. I know tennis, and it's a different rating.
Yes, that's 15. That's love 15.
But so what's going to be different about this place?
This place has an amazing oven that they imported from Italy, and pie cooks in 2 minutes.
Wow.
It gets up to like 750 to 950 degrees. So we're going to have that. We're also going to do traditional square Sicilian pizzas, but mini ones, not a big one.
Oh, cool.
So you could buy one for yourself.
Right.
So
a bar pie, but
a bar Sicilian pie. Okay. Bar Sicilian pie. The place that was there before us was, what I hear from everybody, was a little expensive. So we're going to lower the prices. We're going to make it affordable. And
but it just sounds like it's set up for you.
Yes, it is set up. We got to do some interior work, and we're just going to make it really good pizza.
And when can I come for a slice?
September.
September.
Yeah, September.
Okay. Everything's September.
Well,
right?
this summer, nobody's going to be in town, so we're going to do the work that we have to.
Right.
And
I'm going to challenge that. I think there's going to be a lot of
I
people
hope
in
so.
town, but
Listen,
there may not be, our
I hope so.
Hoboken
Right.
folks.
I hope so.
Yeah.
It is
If
what
it
it
gets
is.
too hot, maybe not. But so far, I see lots of tourists.
The shore needs work. Needs people down there also. They had a rough summer last summer.
Sure.
So
Right.
it is what it
But
is.
there's enough people for all places.
Absolutely.
Cool.
And that's why there's pizzerias downtown that, think Dave's coming downtown, blah, blah, blah. They're all my friends. I love it. I'm not competition for anybody. I want to bring more people into the neighborhood,
Right.
Really
I think
just
there's
something
room for
Everybody.
everyone.
Everyone can find a little niche.
Sure. We got Leslie. Dave, great job. You were so natural. So
That's
you
my
did
mother-in-law.
great.
Leslie Bob. Love you guys.
Great.
Love
That's so
you guys.
cool. You're going to have a good reunion
Yeah,
next
yeah.
time you guys get
Yes.
together. And hope they can spread the word. So we're going to close out here.
Okay.
This is, like you said,
Time flies when you're having fun, right?
Exactly.
I'm just getting
I
started.
don't think we've ever really talked like this.
No,
Because you're
just
getting so many cell phone calls.
Right. But you know what? Every time you and I see each other, we do get into a pretty deep conversation.
And we like it.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So
And then we always have to say, okay, we got to go.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going back to my crib notes here. These programs, we always thank some of our key sponsors here at the museum. And Applied Companies has always been our main
Amazing
supporter. And we love Joe, we love Michael, and just a big shout out to them. And then I probably jumped ahead a little bit, but there's Donald Jackett, who is no longer with us, but was able to include us in his estate. And, we have a big thank you. We're starting to see a little more of that. So, just the museum lives on.
Right,
and
right.
people, it's important for people to know that, that type of donation is very important to us. And did mention that this program is archived forever. I don't think we have to do any heavy editing here, but you can watch it on the YouTube History channel.
I didn't curse for 61 minutes.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And again, wanted to thank Rand Hoppe for being our engineer and producer and making sure we stay on track.
Yeah.
And see you, upcoming shows. Oh, we do. I really should tie it back to the museum a little bit. In the upper gallery where we're broadcasting, we're extended our exhibit of essential workers at the hospital by Gary Spector. It seems like really important work. And they're pretty striking photographs. Every face tells a story, and we're really proud to
Who
be.
took the photographs?
Gary Spector, yeah, Hoboken resident, long-standing, and he made this project, really important at this time.
Amazing.
And we thank the hospital for all the work they've done keeping us safe. And so we also are continuing with our Hudson County postcard show. We've been getting so many visitors from out of Hoboken, from the other surrounding 11 communities here in Hudson County. And many of these cards are set up with augmented reality. That show comes down on July 4th. Or will be open July 4th, that Sunday, and then we'll be closing for a month to install the new exhibit, which will open up on August 1st. And that is called The Avenue, the history of Washington Street.
So cool.
We'll do some history on the Madison and all the other,
That's so cool.
not all the other, but many of the fine establishments on Washington Street. And we thought it was a nice way to tie into, the lifeline of Hoboken is
Going
Washington
up to
Street.
the meet you on the avenue.
Meet you on the avenue.
That's great.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely. And also, that's the picture of Rand and Lisa. They're playing ping pong in the walkway. We have tried to be so welcoming at this juncture. And they say things are coming back. Well, we've been back for a long time.
Right?
And one feature we have is you can play ping pong when the museum is open.
That's pretty cool.
And ping pong is a great way to interact with people.
Yeah,
Couples come,
I hope that this feeling of community doesn't fade away from this whole COVID time.
Right.
Because people normally get back into their daily lives and,
Sure.
And,
I mean, that's what we said after Sandy, in a way.
And 9/11.
And 9/11.
Yeah.
And we did go back to our old routine.
I was starting to see people flipping a bird on the highway again.
Yeah, exactly. The good old days,
Yes.
converging into the Lincoln Tunnel or going up to the highway.
It's wild.
Yeah, definitely.
And I always say to people, like, why so angry?
Yeah.
I don't happen to be alive today.
Sure. Yeah, it's usually they're not angry at you. It's all the other stuff that happened before. Anyway, we are segueing out. We are done. We obviously could talk for a lot longer. We may do this again.
Yeah,
this is an ongoing thing. This is not a COVID project. It may have started that way, but we're in it for the long haul.
Whoever's out there commenting, if you have any ideas, put them up on the screen. Put them up, and we'll talk about them.
Yes, definitely.
Thanks so much for having me.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Always